Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. Today's video is going to be all of the series I've started that I need to finish, which is a little intimidating at the moment. So I spent some time kind of figuring out all of the series I'm in the middle of that I plan on finishing, not ones that I've read and I'm like, nope, but just definitely ones that I'm planning on finishing. And I'm gonna try to work on getting a lot of them finished this year, even though obviously I'm gonna be starting new series because I do that to myself all the time. Even accidentally, when I think it's a standalone and then it ends up having a duology or a series. I feel like that's happened to me a couple of times recently. And I'm not going to be pulling books off the shelves. I'm just going to kind of rapid fire, and I may put a picture up, but we'll see. So let's just get into it. And so, disclaimer, I'm going to leave out the books where I've started them and they're going to be a series, but their sequels or whatever is not out yet. I'm going to leave those out simply because I'm going to finish them and I'm going to read them, but I can't possibly read it until it comes out. So like For the Wolf, I am dying to read For the Throne, and that's the end of the duology, but it's not out yet. So I can't read it because I don't have it. So I'm gonna leave all of those out. I'll probably mention those in a later video, or I will just update you as the year goes on because I'm gonna buy them and read them when I can, but I'm gonna leave those out of this video. Only completed series will be in this video, or ones that the second one is at least out. So the first one I need to finish is the All Souls trilogy by Deborah Harkness. And so the first book is A Discovery of Witches. I read The Discovery of Witches last year. I liked it. I'm curious about where it's gonna go. I have no idea where they're gonna take the story or how that's gonna go, but I do want to finish the series even though I haven't continued it at the moment. I do plan on reading it. It's kind of like an adult Twilight with witches, which is kind of an interesting concept. Or just interesting that it exists. I don't know, but it is good, and I understand why people like it. I'm curious to see where it's gonna go. Another series that I need to finish is the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Carrie Maniscalco. I have read the first 2 books of this series, but there's 4 in total, and I haven't started the 3rd one yet, so I would like to start that. And I didn't explain the All Souls trilogy, but basically this trilogy is about Audrey Rose, who teams up with Thomas Cresswell, and they are forensic students that end up teaming up to solve murders in 1800s London. So it's really cool and I really enjoyed it. I love the forensic elements and the murder mystery elements, and there's a lot of wit with Thomas and Audrey, and I appreciate that a lot. So it's been a really fun series to read about, and I'm anxious to continue even though I haven't yet. Another series that I need to finish before the end of the year is the Lord of the Rings trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien. So I did read The Fellowship of the Ring at the end of last year, and I loved it way more than I thought I was going to be honest. I thought this is the king first high fantasy ever. So I thought I was just gonna be a little bit bored, but I wasn't. I really liked it, and I really want to continue, and I would like to get that series read for sure before the end of the year. Because there's only 2 towers in Return of the King left. I've read The Hobbit years ago, and I loved The Hobbit, so I would love to finish the Lord of the Rings trilogy ASAP. Another series that I want to continue is the Witcher series by Adrian Stokowski. So I just started Blood of Elves today, actually, and I did read The Last Wish. I need to read the second short stories before you're supposed to read Blood of Elves. Whoops, still gonna do it. I'm a rebel, what can I say? No, I just wanted to get into the novels and not the short stories for once. So I am in Blood of Elves. I'm in the first novel, but I think I don't remember the exact number, but I think there's 6 to 8. I think there's 6 to 8 books in total with the short stories and everything. And so I would like to, a goal of mine is to finish this series. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to finish that series this year, but I am continuing. I have Blood of Elves and I've started it. So I do want to continue this series. I'm very interested to see where the story is going to go and how it's going to play out over this many books. And I really liked The Last Wish. I feel like reading Blood of Elves after watching season 2 of The Witcher is just kind of repeating in my head of the same stories, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. And hopefully I can read A Time of Contempt before the next season of The Witcher comes out, and maybe pick up the second short stories in between. So definitely want to continue that. I mean, obviously I want to continue all of these series, so I'm probably going to say that and it's probably going to be annoying. Sorry. Another one that I need to finish is the Serpent and Dove trilogy by Shelby Mahurin. I read Serpent and Dove and Blood and Honey, but I have not read Gods and Monsters yet. And I think it's because I really liked the first one, and the second one was okay, but it was kind of middle book syndrome. So I really need to finish the 3rd one. And I again have no idea how that's going to wrap up or where that's going to go. but I am curious about it. And the Serpent and Dove trilogy, I didn't explain The Witcher or the Lord of the Rings because I feel like most people know what those are. But the Serpent and Dove trilogy, basically you're following a witch who has to marry a witch hunter. And I just need to finish it. The book's been out for a year, or did it come out last year? The book's been out for a while and I just need to finish it, and I feel like it's staring at me every time I make a TBR and I'm just like, just skip right over you. I don't know, sometimes I feel like sometimes I'm engrossed in series and I just go through them one after the other, and I feel like other times I pause for no apparent reason in between, and then I don't want to pick it up for no apparent reason. So you can yell at me and tell me to read it. I need to read it. Have you guys finished that trilogy? I'm curious. I don't know if I've heard a lot of thoughts on Gods and Monsters. Let me know. Another series that I need to finish because I've barely started the first book is the Witchland series by Susan Dennard. And I barely started Truth Witch last year, and it was one of the ones that was on my pile of like shame where I started it and put it down for no reason. And so I don't really know much about it. So the Witchland series is kind of is focusing on this Truth Witch who she has the ability to tell when people are lying, which is a very coveted gift because it can be really used in a lot of political situations and in war. And so she's kind of hunted after, and all of these other witches have different gifts, whether it's from the elements or things like what she has, or a blood witch who can, if they smell your blood, they can track you down to the ends of the earth. And you're following this Truth Witch as a blood witch gets her scent and is tracking her down, and she's on the run. Another series that I need to continue is The Princess Will Save You by Sarah Henning. And I started the first book, got wrapped up in another TBR, pile of shame, you know how it goes. Really enjoying the first book, and I think there's projected to be 3 books, and the second book is already out. So I need to go ahead and finish the first book and then read the second and the third book eventually. And that book is basically a Princess Bride retelling, and that's all I kind of know about it at the moment. And that is just adorable and amazing, and it's like a gender bent Princess Bride retelling, so that's really cool. And I really want to read it and know what happens, but I haven't yet, so I need to do that. Another series that I would like to finish this year, which I'm well on my way to finishing, is the League of Extraordinary Women series by E.B. Dunmore. That's bringing down the Duke, A Rogue of One's Own, Portrait of a Scotsman, and then A Gentleman's Gambit, I think is the 4th one that's coming out this year. I read books 1 and 2. I'm in the middle of reading book 3, so I should be able to read book 4 before the end of the year and then have that series wrapped up. I'm really enjoying that series. I love them a lot. And that series is different because each book follows one of the 4 women in the friend groups. The first one follows Annabelle, the second one follows Lucy, the third one follows Hattie, and the 4th one follows Catriona. And so Bringing Down the Duke is about a group of women suffragists who are trying to recruit influential people of power to support their cause. And in such, Annabelle ends up entangling with the Duke and chaos ensues. I would definitely like to finish that series, which I can't imagine how I wouldn't. If I'm reading the 3rd book in February and the 4th one doesn't come out until September, I will definitely have that series finished. Because I'm not going to be able to control myself because I've really enjoyed them so far. Another series that I started that I really need to continue is the Darker Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab. So I read the first book, I liked it. I don't remember if I gave it 3 stars or 3.5 stars, but I really liked it. I thought it was really interesting. I really liked Kel. I was like kind of confused about some parts of it, but the magic was cool and there was a lot of things going on. So I really want to continue, but I haven't. So I really need to read book 2 and 3, especially because I think she has another, I don't remember, it's called The Dark Powers, but she's writing another series in the Darker Shades of Magic universe. And so I would really like to have this under my belt before those start coming out or being announced so that I could read those when they come out as well. Oh, it's probably hard to describe. I will try to give you the smallest description. A Darker Shades of Magic is basically following Kel, who is, I don't remember what they're called, but basically he has magic and he can travel in between worlds. And there's 4 different Londons: Red London, Grey London, White London, and Black London. But Black London is dead because of the magic that was unleashed upon it. And Kel has the ability to travel between these lands, which not everyone has. And he accidentally takes an artifact to a London that it's not supposed to be at. It was fun, I liked it. Another series that I read that I hadn't thought about in a while actually was the Lady Janie series. And it's by Cynthia Hand, Jodie Meadows, and Brody Ashton. So it's written by 3 authors, and they're all written by 3 authors. And the first one was My Lady Jane, the second one was My Plain Jane, and the third one was My Calamity Jane. And I read My Lady Jane. I haven't read my Plain Jane, but I haven't, and I haven't read my Calamity Jane, but I also have it because I really enjoyed the first one. It was really funny, and so I really want to read more of their writing because I thought it was really funny, and it's not like super deep, but it was hilarious and just really enjoyable. And so I want to continue that series for sure, especially because now they have a Mary series that's out, and I want to read that too. So I really need to get to this. And these are ones that you don't have to read them in order or even pick up all of them, because you could just read the ones that you're curious about. But I just want to read all of them because I thought the writing was really fun. The first one is about Edward, King of England, and Jane, his cousin. I don't remember her name, I'm horrible, but she's the one that gets beheaded. But this is just like a twisted version of that story. And that one's really fun. And then my Plain Jane, I believe, is a retelling of Jane Eyre. And my Calamity Jane is obviously a retelling of Calamity Jane. So I love how they just throw in like fantastical elements and really hilarious dialogue and comments and just all this stuff. Like, they're just really fun to read. I wouldn't go into it wanting this like high fantasy novel or this like really gripping retelling, but it's just like, I remember listening to the audiobook of the first one and laughing out loud on a plane, like out loud on a plane in public. That never happens to me. So it was funny. So that to say, I would like to finish that series. Another series that I think I'm gonna finish, but I have doubts about it, is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I have not loved the first 3 books of that series. The third book I enjoyed more than the others, but I'm struggling to want to continue, but I'm the kind of person that really wants to know how the story ends, and so I'm probably gonna push through, even if I necessarily shouldn't, and maybe I should DNF it, but I do plan on finishing the series. Maybe I can do that this year, we'll see. I may need a break from it for a bit because I'm kind of tired of it. I know that's like shocking because I know a lot of people love that series. I don't necessarily get it. Maybe I'm reading it when I was too old to start it. Like, I didn't read it when I was a kid, or I didn't read it as an adolescent, so maybe that's the reason why. I'm not sure. If you've read the Throne of Glass series and you liked it or hated it, I would like to know your comments about it, just because I'm gonna try to push through and just finish the series, even if I hate it, just to know what I think and to know how it ends. But I would like to know your thoughts on it and how your journey went, if you struggled with the first few books and then it got better, or how it went for you. But I am gonna plan on reading it. The first book is about an assassin who is taken out of prison to compete in an assassin's tournament to become the king's champion. And then things happen. Another one that I need to finish is The Kingdom of the Cards duology by Janella Angelis. First one that I read was Where Dreams Descend, and the second one is When Night Breaks. It's just a duology, and I just read the first one in December, so I would like to read the second one and see how the story wraps up. The first one is about a lady magician who enters into a magician's competition, even though she's not supposed to because she's a woman, which is deemed like a faux pas in society, but also dangerous. And a lot of things unfold from there, and the ending was kind of nuts, so I want to know how it plays out, but I'm also kind of scared because I haven't heard a lot of things about it, I haven't heard a lot of good things about it, or things in general about it. So I'm a little nervous, but it's a duology, and I want to know what happens in the story, so I'm gonna finish it. Another one that I just thought of the other day that I would like to finish eventually, maybe not soon, maybe not now, but eventually, the Enchanted Forest Chronicles. Have you all ever read these? They're definitely middle grade, if not younger, but they were really fun for me. I read the first one called Dealing with Dragons. These books are by Patricia C. Reed, and the first one is about Princess Cimarine. Well, I guess they're all about Princess Cimarine, but the first one follows Princess Cimarine, and she's basically told that a prince is going to rescue her and marry her, and she doesn't want to be rescued, and she doesn't want to get married and be like handed off into marriage, and so she decides to go and seek out a den of dragons and live with them, but not to be rescued, just to live her life and not be bothered. And it's hilarious and just like cute little whimsical fairy tale story with dragons, and she like befriends them and helps them, and it's just funny and cute. I think there's just 4 books in total, so I would just need to read 3 more, but it was just funny, so I would like to read those at some point and finish them, but as of now, I've just read the first one and it was really cute. And I liked it. I liked Princess Cimarine and her just complete devotion to not getting married and living with these dragons. Another series that I've started that I really need to finish at some point is the Diviners series by Libba Bray. I read the first one and I liked it, but I wouldn't say I loved it or thought it was like the best thing I've ever read, because I know a lot of people love that series and they like are die hard for the Diviners. And I am not that person, but I am curious about it and how the story will continue and unfold over the next 3 books. So I read the first book, The Diviners. I still have 3 more books to read in that series. So I do want to read them. I do plan on reading them. I don't know if I'll get that done this year, but it is on the docket for me to continue at least one this year. In the first one, you're following a lot of different characters' perspectives in 1920s New York. And so it's got a lot of like 20s jargon and flapper vibes, which is really interesting because it's written very well for that time period. And like the slang they use, everything, it really puts you in that mindset. Even if you don't like it, it does put you in that mindset. And so there are these perspectives of all these characters that have like these different abilities or powers, like seeing the future if you touch somebody, or having dreams that come true, or just different things like that. And there's this like sinister element of like demonic activity of like this guy coming back from the dead and like sacrificing all of these people for his rise to power. So it's like really creepy stuff that is pretty well done, and I would like to know how the story continues, because it feels like I have no idea how it would continue, because it feels like it was completely wrapped up in the first book, but then of course there's a cliffhanger and you're like, okay. In the first book, I feel like was also building a lot of backstory for each of the characters, which took a long time because you're following a lot of characters. So it was a lot of build up, even though there was a plot involved. So I feel like later books will be better because there's not going to be so much build up with every character. So I feel like it drug on a little bit for me, but I do want to finish that series and continue it, and hopefully I can do that soon. Another series that I feel like I will be perpetually reading until the end of time, because she keeps coming out with books, is the Wayward Children series by Shauna McGuire. And I have read the first 4, I think. There are 7 out now because the 7th came out the beginning of this year. So there's 7 out now. I've read 4. I'm going to continue the series. I'm going to read the whole series, but I also have no end in sight as to when all of these books are going to be finished or written, or how many are going to be in this series. Is it going to be like a 15-book series? I have no idea, but I know she's got several that she wants to write. I guess that's okay because they are very short novellas, but that is a series that I would like to continue. It is very hard to give you a synopsis on all of those books because each book follows a different character. But basically the first book is about the Home for Wayward Children, which is all of these children that come back from these portal worlds. So think you're going to Narnia and then you come back, and how you cope with being back in the real world and not this perfect world you've been living in for the last however many years of your life, and how the children are coping with that, or if they're not coping with that. And there's another home that's for children that don't want to go back to their worlds. So it's kind of interesting to see all of that play out and how the different dynamics of each character plays out. Some of them find their worlds and that's cool. Some of them I don't think are ever going to go back, and some of them are struggling with adjusting. So it's really interesting to see all of that, or some of the characters that was in the first book, you get to see their backstories in other books. It's just kind of all over the place, but it's interesting. So I will obviously continue that series and finish it someday whenever it's all out, but who knows when that will be. Another series that I started and I want to continue is the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. I read All Systems Red, the first one of the Murderbot Diaries, and absolutely loved it. It was hilarious. It was amazing. Maybe there wasn't much plot, but it didn't matter because it was so funny, and it was a little like short novella. So I was really impressed by her writing and how she wrote Murderbot. It's just funny, and antisocial murderbot, anxiety, introvert. Reading about that was just enjoyable, while also having a lot of sci-fi elements where they're like battling this monster or battling these other bots. So I don't really know how it'll play out with like a continuous storyline, or if each book is going to be its own thing, but I do want to continue that series, and I loved the first book. Another series that I'm planning on continuing, and I did finally get the second book, is the Scholomance series by Naomi Novik. Now I know a lot of people, or some people, are not a big fan of this series based on the first one, but I really liked the first one, and I feel like I went into it thinking I wasn't really going to like it because it seemed like everyone hated it, and I had got it in a book box, so I was like, well, I'll just read it to read it, and then I really liked it, so I picked up the second book, And I'm really curious to see what's going to happen in the Scholomance series. I think it's only a trilogy at this point, or just will be a trilogy in general. So I have the second book now, and I'm planning on picking up the third one when it comes out this year. So I hope I can finish that series this year, because I was really enjoying the Scholomance and would like to know how it ends. Another series that I started that I have no end in sight is the Stormheart series by Cora Carmack. I read the first two, Roar and Rage, and I absolutely loved them. And Rain is the third book, and it was supposed to come out last year or 2 years ago. It was supposed to come out in 2020, I think, and then it got pushed back for obvious reasons of 2020 being a mess. But then it was supposed to come out last year, or maybe it wasn't supposed to come out, but it had a publication date for like July 2021. That wasn't true. And the author has come out and said that she is still working on this book, and she's got some health issues that have gotten in the way, which is not her fault, but it is pushing the timeline of the book back. And she said she's working on it, but she does not know when it's going to release, which is really painful for readers. But I mean, she needs to be healthy. She needs to be able to, focus on her health and herself. So that's fine, but it's very painful for me because I desperately want to finish the series, and I have no idea when I will be able to, but I will probably scream it from the rooftops when it is coming out and when I know it's coming out. And you will hear my thoughts about it when it comes out. But I don't know when that third book is coming out, but when it comes out, I will finish it. Roar is following a princess who gets wrapped up in this political scheme that's going to take over her kingdom, and so she leaves her kingdom because she has no magic, and that is seen as a horrible weakness where she is, and so she leaves so no one will find out, and then tries to figure out her magic along the way, and it's storm magic, so it's really cool, and I've really liked the concept of the series so far. So that is one that I will finish eventually whenever I have the ability to. Another duology I need to finish is the Winter Song duology by S.J. Jones. I read Winter Song last year and I thought it was okay, but I want to know how the story ends, and Shadow Song is the second one. I do own it. I plan on finishing that one as well. And with Winter Song, you're following a main character who has like musical ability that's kind of tied into the magic, and she was promised to the Goblin King, and he comes and kind of takes her or makes a deal with her to come into the underground, and the story of their like romance struggle, figuring out the different atrocities of this world come into play, and she did all of this to save her sister. So it's kind of like a Labyrinth retelling mixed with probably other elements, and it was okay, but it was kind of weird. And so I want to know what happens, and I'm curious to see what book 2 will do with the situation they've put up. But it was kind of weird, kind of creepy, but I do want to know what happens, so I will finish it. Another series that I started that I guess technically I haven't finished, I finished most of them, but that's the Luck series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I read all of them except the prequel book, which I do have, and I guess I haven't read the one that's like the first book from the main male character's perspective, Damon's perspective, but I haven't read the prequel. I should do that, but I kind of lost interest in it, and I really need to finish it so I can say that I've completed the whole series. So that's another one that I do need to read. The first one I feel like people pitch as a Twilight but with aliens, which I kind of understand, but it's basically about this girl who moves in next door to this family of aliens, and they're extremely powerful, and it like leads into a lot of complications with her family being in danger and the world being in danger, and these other darker aliens and like alien invasion type stuff on the world and trying to save the world. So it like turns into a lot of crazy stuff, but it was okay. And it was enjoyable, especially I think I read the first couple when I was sick, and I like flew through them, so that was fun and good for me when I was sick, but don't really have a lot of desire to continue, but I will read the prequel and finish the series at some point in time. I apologize if you can hear my husband or our dog outside at the end of this video, because he has a play date right now with our next door dog neighbor, Iggy. So those are a ton of series that I have started and need to finish. Some of them I would like to finish this year, some of them we'll get to eventually. And there's several not on this list that I have either just finished recently, or I finished the first one but the second one's not out yet. If you would like a video on the ones that I've started the series but like the rest of them aren't out yet, or the next one's not out yet, I can do that just to update you and keep you definitely informed on the rest of the ones that I want to read. I can definitely do that, and that way you'll know like all of the series that are on deck for me, because there's a lot. But just let me know in the comments down below and I'd be happy to do it for you. What are some series that you would like to finish this year? All right, everyone, well, that is it for today's video. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.